Commodity TV live here from the Mines and Money London 2022, and we have now here a very special guest out of the gold space, I would call it, Tom Larsen, the CEO of Eloro Resources. Tom.
Tim, nice to...
Long time no see.
Yes.
Nice to meet you here. Welcome to London.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good to see you as well.
Thank you. How was the show so far?
It's going very well. I mean, I was here last year. I think it's better attended. I think there's just a little bit more of a vibe, a good positive vibe taking place. Maybe, is there sort of a commodity price resurgence? Is it sort of still early days? Whatever. I'm not a professional when it comes to forecasting commodity prices, but I'm seeing a lot of positive energy from a lot of the participants and people here. So very pleased that we're here today.
Okay, so you are very active in Bolivia, where you have your Iska Iska gold project. Could you give us an insight in this project and in your company?
Yes, so our company, the name is Eloro Resources. We are a publicly traded company listed on the TSX Venture on the Frankfurt and also on the OTCQX under the symbol ELRRF. ELO is our symbol in Canada.
Yep.
We actually are a bit more of a silver tin, typical bonanza style type Bolivian deposit. We do have some gold, some copper in the lower regions of this deposit, but it's primarily a silver tin, zinc, lead type of multi-metal.
Silver is even better. So
my preference is silver. Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a diehard gold. I've always believed in gold. For many years, I've been involved in this sector for, back in the 90s. Gold, I think, you take a look at over the last 30 years, you've seen how it's preserved itself in relation to other paper, other assets.
So you had a lot of drill success there in the last month, so let's say 2 years. So could you give us some numbers or just an insight in the project?
Well, you have to understand that this particular area of southern Bolivia, it's home to the Cerro Rico deposit, which is probably the largest silver body ever found. Over 2.5 billion ounces of silver since the 16th century. It's about 180 kilometers due north of us. In this sort of metallogenic, this volcanic chamber environment, which we lie on. It's actually on the tin belt. So we were very fortunate to become landowners. We're optioning into the project of this land holding. It's basically 10 million US of cash to the vendor. By June of 2024, we've already paid half of that to date, voluntarily, because having a partner, having a vendor who's very close to the community and such, very, very important. And he has a construction company, does a lot of work on site for us. And so, we thought, we to your question, we've really been getting a lot of success with the drill bit. We've drilled since starting the inaugural drill program in September of 2020. We have drilled over 120 holes, around 87,000 meters, nonstop throughout COVID. 5 drills at one point, up until recently, from a local driller, Leduc Drilling from Bolivia. So we were able to really continue with strong production, really good results. When I say production, drilling production. And the success has been sort of garnered with share price increase really since our first major discovery holes that took place sort of in November of 2020 into January of 2021. These holes were, over 250, 300 meters in length.
Oh.
And you're dealing with
bulk tonnage
type target potential. Okay. But the valuation of the rock was coming in per ton was coming in at around 150 silver gram equivalent, which is a combination of the metals in that particular ton of rock. So we had just about every hole is mineralized, is hit mineralization. Not all are commercial on the model that we expect to bring out in the MRE, which will come out first quarter. end of first quarter of this year, of 2023, sorry.
Okay.
However, we're opening up this never before drilled property project, and we're getting very good success.
Okay. So you recently expanded your land holdings there in this area. So what's the reason or what's the background on this?
Why we added on?
Yeah.
We are dealing with a volcanic structure, a volcanic edifice. And in the upper regions of this deposit, this is where most of the drilling has been going towards to comply with an inferred to an indicated, more inferred type of resource. So we've been doing a lot of infilling in what they call the Santa Barbara breccia pipe and surrounding mineralized envelope. And what we're coming up with is over 1,500 meters of strike by close to 600-700 meters width by 700-800 meters depth. That's the volumetric that we're drilling into 100-meter spacings. That's what you'll see in that's a subset of the overall system. That is what you'll see in our first pass technical report, third party, coming out in early March. The reason that we were so keen in picking up this property adjacent to the southwest called La Cassiterita, cassiterite, tin host rock, La Cassiterita, was that its elevation it's lower to the upper areas of where we've been drilling. Underneath this whole system, the Iska Iska, the 9.5 square kilometer surface below as it opens up, is a tin porphyry. That was the feeder in this area. And this is why, like in Chile or in Peru, you have copper, big copper porphyries, and that's where you see massive copper deposits. In Bolivia, it's a totally different complex. It's a tin-driven porphyry system that creates these upper pressures from volcanism. We want to go after the tin porphyry because we believe as you go deeper, higher temperature metals, better grade. And we think that this could become one of the first major tin bulk tonnage mines in the world, size-wise. But we have to go after the deeper targets. This property that we just picked up allows us to drill more effectively because we're closer to that potential magnetic target that we've come up with our geophysics that depicts what we believe is the tin porphyry. So it'll be cheaper, more efficient drilling from the southern part of the property, which is much lower than the upper Iska Iska complex.
Okay. So let's come to Bolivia itself. Can you tell us a little bit about Bolivia? How is working there? How is permitting?
Well, from our standpoint, the whole key for us is that it's all about relationships. And one of the big drawing cards for us, and we made sure of this when we talked to Dr. Oswaldo Arcee, who was basically, he's our go-to fellow in Bolivia. He was the president of the Bolivian Geological Society in Bolivia from 2010 to 2018. He's written 2 volumes on metallogenic Bolivian-style, bonanza-style type deposits. He's sort of a go-to guy. He, in fact, was the one that decided that we should go after the Iska Iska project that he had spent time on in 2016, being asked by the owners, privately owned, to come and take a look at this type of system because they couldn't artisanally, like in Bolivia and most of these Latin American places, there's a lot of artisanal mining, high grading, silver, zinc, gold veins. In this case, everything was sort of leached, eroded on surface. And so there wasn't a lot of this sort of known silver, zinc type of vein systems going up to surface. Everything had been leached out. There were some old adits that were maybe in the sulfide areas about 150 meters south of the upper part of the topography of the volcano. And these were rehabbed by the Villegas family. And they did a little bit of high-grade mining on silver veins, but it proved to be very discontinuous. Mm-hmm. So they hired Oswaldo in 2016. They knew of his reputation to come and take a look at it. So when we And he saw the massive explosions, the signatures from those massive underground explosions that created this system. He saw that in the wall rock in these adits. Anyway, you can't mine that from an artisanal standpoint. So he left that alone. And so in 2019, we were working in Peru, having some issues there. We decided to look in Bolivia, and with Dr. Oswaldo Arcee, who is a good friend of Dr. Pearson, who's our VP, senior VP, who I've known for 40 years, a great geologist. And through his relationships, Dr. Oswaldo Arcee, that's how we became involved in Bolivia. And it's all about relationships. If it's a private owned property, when you talk about exploration permits, drilling permits, everything's grandfathered if it's a small scale mining operation, which in this case it is. So we've been able to drill in an unlimited fashion with no barriers of entry at all involved.
Okay. So much drilling to come, resource estimate.
Yeah.
Therefore you need some cash. So what's cash in the bank at the moment?
Cash is around 7 million. We've been burning at around 1.2 US a month because we had 5 drills on site.
Okay.
We've done enough drilling now to fill out that first pass area. It's a subset of the overall system called Santa Barbara. We believe that'll be a half open pit, half adit underground mining operation. That we've done enough to complete for that first report, which will be out in hopefully March of 2023. So our burn rate now has gone down to basically 300,000-400,000 a month, while we assemble, put everything, the metallurgical studies, the reports, the results from, what the recoveries are to this multi-metal deposit. All of that information, plus some scoping, economic scoping as to the open pit, the strip, all that sort of stuff, will be in the report. We will, at some point, obviously, when we move forward on the next major target, being the tin porphyry, we will get aggressive with another large drilling campaign. My whole emphasis here is that the Santa Barbara is wide open. We're going to be able to enhance and increase it. But what I'm trying to do, I want to try and keep us at no higher than 100 million fully diluted share position. So, as long as I can stick to 100 million from a valuation standpoint, share-wise, that's what I'm trying to work on. I don't want to blast the share capitalization, because that affects me, and more importantly, affects the shareholder.
Yeah. That brings me to the shareholder structure. So
yeah,
what's that all about? Any institutions in? What is management holding?
Management has around 25%. I've got about 6-7 million shares. Crescat Capital out of Denver, Colorado, through Dr. Quentin Hennig. They're at around 12% of the overall 70 million. Outstanding right now, 85 fully diluted. Jupiter Fund here in London. They probably have 5%, 6%, and some other. We did 3 bought deals, raised $40 million, all through Cormark, Haywood, and Cantor Fitzgerald. So that brought in some institution. We're getting some good European following, and especially we're getting US following as well. And I think that's on the tin component aspect of this.
How is Dr. Quentin Hennig involved in the company?
I was introduced to Dr. Quentin Hennig through a good friend of mine and a good friend of yours, a fellow called Claude Beget, who's based out of Lausanne, Switzerland. I've known Claude for a long time. I brought him into Eloro even before the Bolivian situation, but I talked to, back in 2020, discussed the Eloro Bolivian opportunity, and he knew Quentin, who knew the operators of the Sumitomo San Cristobal mining operation 180 kilometers west of us. And so he thought it'd be a good introduction, Claude, for me to meet and introduce Eloro and more so the Iska Iska project to Quentin. And he really liked what he saw. It was early stage, and he convinced Crescat to come in, and they were our first. They basically underwrote the first drilling campaign that started in September of 2020. Okay. And he's a senior advisor to Eloro.
Okay, Tom, much work to do, much news to come. All the best for you and for the company in 2023, and I hope hopefully we'll meet again soon.
Oh, Tim, thank you for this opportunity to display
My pleasure.
the story of Eloro to you and your audience. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tom Larsen, the CEO of Eloro Resources. I would say check out the company, do your own research, and bye-bye from London.